down. So let's start by listening to any mouse down event that may occur. When that happens, I know I want to keep track of the exact X position the mouse was at, so we can use that as the starting point for our invisible slider. But where are we going to store that value? What if we just created a new custom value on our track element that will update every time the mouse is pressed down? All right, what happens next? Step 1 was mouse down. Step 2, the mouse moves. So we need a mouse move listener. We need a way to know how far our mouse has traveled relative to the starting point, as well as where the other end of our slider should be. The relative position is easy enough. Just subtract the current position from the starting point, and we already know the max distance is 1/2 of the width of the window. So dividing the relative position by the max distance would convert this value to a decimal, and multiplying the decimal by 100 gives us a percentage. Oh wait, my head hurts. Why were we even doing this again? Oh right, because clicking and dragging halfway across the screen has to move our image track from one end all the way to the other. Only this functionality has to be possible no matter where we click on the screen. So by tracking the starting point and using it to create a virtual slider using math, we can thereby obtain the value we truly need, which is the percentage of our slider that has been slid. Now, if we recall earlier, we used the translate property to shift our slider up by 50% of its height. Well, thanks to this value here, we can perform a very similar manipulation in the left-right direction. For instance, if we set this value to -50%, our track moves 50% in the left direction. If we set it to -100%, our track has moved all the way to the opposite end. Fortunately, since we just spent all that time calculating the percentage value of our magic slider, the next step is easy. We simply use this value to set the left-right percentage on our track, and whoa, hang on. The mouse move listener has no way of knowing when the mouse is actually down. So the track is moving before it's supposed to. Well, since I know the mouse down at position is 0 before the mouse is pressed, we could just say that if that's the case, return immediately and skip the code that's telling the track to move. But as soon as the user clicks, the value will no longer be 0, so we'll have to set it back to 0 when they release the mouse. Okay, so now when I click an image, it just drags it off the track. Stupid default behavior. Fine, we'll just set draggable to false. Okay, no more weird dragging, but we're clearly going in the wrong direction here, so I guess we gotta flip the sign. All right, looking good here. Wait, why is the position resetting when I try to drag a second time? Are you kidding? Since we're not keeping track of how far we've dragged the slider, instead of continuing from where it was left off, it just resets back to 0.